we're so focused on maybe building ad technology, so focused on making things come together or maybe selling in our media, that we're actually not focused on the number one thing, which is how can this particular advertising be effective? And at the core of creativity is effectiveness. The thing is, there's a ton of data out there to prove that if your ad is more creative, you get a much better result. I say 0.1x results in terms of if your ad is judged as creative across all the data that's out there. The second thing is that we assume getting the campaign out the door is good enough. And oftentimes, we're operating on deadlines and it's quite difficult to get things done. But if we think in terms of effectiveness and creativity underpinning that, then we can try and solve that challenge. But what does that really mean when it comes down to it? Which is that the new retail media advertising types, such as in-store screens, such as banner advertising, such as sponsored search and so on, thinking through each step and the context those advertising units appear in is the most important thing. We used to make this mistake, 10 years ago when we were doing Facebook advertising. We would take what would be our print ad or an ad that we used in another location and just stick it on Facebook and assume it worked. And then eventually we worked that Facebook advertising has its own language and its own dynamic. So just the same as with Facebook advertising, retail media will have its own language and its own dynamic. And to wrap up this point, I think the most important part of that is actually within the store, because in the store today, we've been used to using cardboard, like big kind of end of aisle things, and they've got their own kind of, if you will, design and creative language. However, in-store screens are a different sort of design language. They're very compelling, they're very high grade, they're very high quality. And so what we are going to see in the future is creativity and advertising tailored for that particular context that will be unlike any other context. It won't be the same as TV, it won't be the same as print. It'll be its own thing. And I think that's when we're going to see a real explosion of creativity once people understand that. So we have to look at the world of retail media growth through a couple of different lenses. So the first one is on the retail side. So retailers are very good at selling. I mean, retail has been retail for thousands of years, which is we buy it at one price and sell at another price. And also we're excellent at logistics to get the product into the store and get it sold. So retail at its core is a trading business and a logistics business. Now, if we want to set up something that is advertising, that is a completely different world, because advertising is about building out advertising technology. It's about advertising inventory. It's about being able to sell advertising, but also about recognizing that I'm competing with somebody else for that brand money, because any of the brands or advertisers can choose where they want to spend their money. So they're two different worlds. They're two different mindsets. And so the way I couch this is to say the retailers have to think like they are media publishers and media houses. So that's the first big kind of challenge. And if we shift gear to on the brand side. So on the brand side, it's typically four sets of domains that matter for brands to go and communicate with their target market. So brand marketing, digital marketing, shopper marketing, and trade marketing. And each of those four individual type, if you will, communications operate independently and in silos. And the challenge with retail media is it's a bit of them all. It's a bit of brand advertising, it's a bit of performance marketing, it's a bit of shopper marketing, it's a bit of digital marketing. And so which is it? Which means nobody owns it, which means it has to be integrated a lot more, which means a rethink of how we think about ways of working within the brands as well. So we got these two different dynamics happening, what's happening on the retailer side and what's happening on the brand side. And they are the biggest challenges to holding back retail media. With my work with brand clients and retail media clients, retailer and retail media clients across the globe, this is the thing that is brought up almost immediately. That is the thing that will be holding them back. So the first thing is to recognize that retail media is actually a change. It's a break from the past in terms of how we used to do things. I recognize that it's a new dynamic in how we market, and a new dynamic in how we trade our products in terms of retailers. So the number one thing, therefore, if you recognize that, you realize there's new ways of working. And at the introduction of these new ways of working, the trigger is actually retail media. So once people recognize that we're moving to a new paradigm based around audiences, based around data, and based around experiences based on data, we're moving into this new paradigm, the recognition of that and the start of it implementing new processes, structures, and procedures that match to this new paradigm. That's the first thing that we need to kind of do within retail media, where it has to go. Second thing is on the brand side. I've touched on this before, is within the brands, they're all operating in silos. So if the brand marketing teams are operating in silos, how's that going to be a joined up message to the audiences? I had a very specific experience recently where working directly with a brand, so you could see how the trade marketing team was speaking a very different language to the e-commerce team, a different language to the shopper team, and a different language to the brand team. And it kind of were all speaking different, it's like they literally were speaking different languages because they didn't understand each other. And therefore they felt in each case retail media was not relevant to them. So build up in terms of understanding, capability, and ultimately an opening of the minds to this. There's one kind of notion hidden within that, it's this idea of incentives. At the moment, our current incentives are to keep us in silos. I'd say the future is actually to change the incentives to build us to work cross-functionally and to actually kind of have joined up incentives per retailer, because actually what we all want to do is grow. But at the moment, we're separating our incentives so we don't commit overall to increase the pie.